Alive. What's up, gang?
I'm gonna have an aneurysm.
Let's hang out for a
An
few while
aneurysm.
people join.
Yeah.
We'll join. Should we have we posted on things? Do we post on things?
Yeah, I'm gonna do some posting.
The story.
This is a
free
people.
Live hangout and influences. We don't hang out.
We hang out. No, we don't.
Hang out.
Look at me hanging out.
For anyone joining the stream, I apologize for the choppiness of the video. I can't figure out what's going on.
We can't restart it, can we?
You mean like turn it off and turn it on again?
Yeah, that's always the answer.
I could try it, but then we'll go dark.
We'll go dark.
Dark.
Darker.
Maybe it's dark outside. You better go to bed, 'cause it's dark outside.
How's everybody's quarantine?
Last week sucked. I'm gonna be real. Last week was just a
Last week was dark.
Last week was a fucking nightmare. I think this week will be better. I don't have any exams looming over me. I think this week is gonna be pure being a fucking house hippo.
I'm still on vacation, so this is fine.
We stream to forget.
Most of the things I do at home, so like it's really easy.
I'll never use video calling this much in my life again.
No.
I sure as fuck hope not.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's interesting that the internet hasn't just died. Everybody's just always on the internet now.
I mean, my internet is absolute garbage. It went from being excellent to just being dog shit.
Really? Well, I haven't noticed the difference at all.
My internet's trash, so usually I haven't noticed any difference.
It could be a coincidence, but my internet's definitely been really bad.
If someone
I've
offers
had
me a
bad
remote
internet.
job, I'm gonna scream any time for the rest of my life.
Yeah, fuck.
You can't work in your house. You can't do it.
No.
Hard.
Okay, are we gonna start this, or are we gonna?
Yeah, how do we feel?
No. Fuck you.
Yeah, let's get on the go.
Shit, I don't know who's watching what. I don't know what happened.
We've got
I'm
John.
gonna do an eeny meeny.
We got John, boy.
Does anyone look in to see who's here? Did anyone hear?
Ooh. Yeah. Is anybody look? Are you looking, Connor? You just got eeny meeny miny mode by me.
I've got the stream open here. Yeah.
You wanna take
Oh,
the
we've got
fucking
four. We have four
stand?
people now, and John's one of them.
Ooh, 4. Hello.
You love to
Hi,
see
John.
John in the chat.
Or do you mean eeny, meeny, miny, mo, so I talk about influences?
Oh yeah, that's what I was talking
Oh,
about.
okay. Yeah.
We're talking about music. We gotta talk about.
Hey, folks at home. We're talking about influences tonight. If you're
We
looking
sure
for
are.
a structure, you came to the wrong place, because we're mostly here to hang out. So, I've got to go first. Or do you mean? What was that?
What was that?
Okay.
That's probably me.
Oh, I've seen this. This is. Do you remember when we seen this in theaters?
Oh,
it was,
Unfriended.
Are we heard?
yeah, that was our dead friend that we murdered.
That
We
means
can't do-
She shit her pants or something.
We can't do Unfriended live.
I like the second one. Is there a second one?
Yeah,
I haven't seen the second one. The first one was too scary.
I think it's worse than the first one. I also watched them back to back, which was a mistake.
The first one is
Ooh.
about hackers. The second one is about ghosts.
What? The first one's about ghosts.
Yeah, in the second one,
Is
the
the first
ghost could send a text message in a creepy font on your phone.
There's a ghost.
Which is cool.
Yeah, the second one was a group of fucking dumbos.
Murder. It was just murder.
Didn't they go on like a Minecraft boat in the second one? They
Yeah.
took like a Minecraft boat to the dark web.
Yes.
That was my favorite part.
I think it was supposed to be like the god. It was like what's the Shepherd of the Dead from like mythology. From
Oh
Greek
yes,
mythology.
like Hades or
Yeah.
River Styx or something.
River Styx. That's
It's the River Styx. What's his name?
It's like
Oh,
Charon, but
Something
it's spelled
like
like Charon.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
think you're right.
Charon.
It's a good song.
Hold on, I'm gonna Google it.
Okay. Anyways.
Oh, yeah,
Does anyone
so-
want to start off?
This isn't like a main influence or anything, but just what I was thinking about today, in terms of influences, is there's this band that I found a few years ago when I was living in Ottawa. I found one of their albums and the live video on YouTube of them playing the whole album. It's a band called Ocean Size and an album called Frames. I think it's sent to you guys recently. But I basically listened to this album nonstop for a week or two and then forget about it for a couple of years. But I'm on that now. This is basically why I'm thinking about it. And I was
It
thinking,
is
like,
Charon.
this actually seems like it's kind of, I can kind of see where the way I approach music fits with this thing, where it's like alternative rock, like British guitar rock, but like 2000s style, but with really reckless time signatures, where they're just like every single riff's in a weird time signature, pretty much.
Weird.
Which seems very much like my thing. I recommend the album.
Polyrhythms.
It comes together though. It's kind of neat hearing someone use that sort of technique in a different context than in metal.
You're making me wish I had listened to it.
You should listen to it.
I think I did, but I don't know if it grabbed me the same way it did you. I feel like I listened to it a few times. I think you sent it again recently, actually.
I was listening to it this week.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
all
Yeah, I
the
listened
other
to it
day.
recently. I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah, it's just what I'm thinking about. Just a weird one for you.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
go.
First of all, I want to talk about John Bonham, because as a kid, when I first started playing, Led Zeppelin was my favorite band, or the band I said was my favorite band.
It's my favorite
And,
band.
And his style just really influenced. Like still to this day, I love his the classic like John Bonham triplet. If anyone actually knows what that is, I don't know if you guys know what that is. But
Is
it's
that
just it's a main part of it. Yeah, it's like left right foot or left right kick and right left kick and stuff like that. And I still use that constantly to this day. And like it's what I grew up when I started playing drums. It's what I was listening to at the beginning, and it's like some of the first songs that I learned. So I'm still to this day I can still see the influences in it. I mean,
I feel like
Yeah.
I've seen some of that in the Dendron fills.
yeah, for sure. It's
Yeah.
just
I never thought of it as anything. I was just like, this is what Nathan does.
I still practice like just doing triplets to this day, fucking around. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you saying that. Me.
You've been picked.
Okay, cool. I was gonna do a whole spiel. So I remember when we were at Ward's, when we were recording 3%. One of the dudes from Disposition, he was like, "It sounded like Carnival, like you're singing," and I was like, "Interesting," because I never thought about it, but like almost certainly, like I fucking love Carnival like so much, like him and I'm sure a couple others that I was just thinking about today, like Spencer Sotelo. I never would have thought that he would influence me, but I was thinking about it and I was like, no, I really love the way that he uses a bunch of different voices. Like every part has like a different feel from him. He's really good at mixing up the tone. Like some people, like Baroness, for example. I feel like the Baroness guy always has the same sound.
Yeah.
Like he's always kind of singing in the same way, and I like the mix up. I like the way that Spencer does it, even if like his cleans are a little bit too squeaky, maybe a little squeaky.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
Like
but those
Freddie.
the notes he hits in Satellites are.
It's so good.
I think though.
Yeah, I can't believe I don't.
I think the
I
best
believe
part
you can hit those.
there's there's no like line between vocal techniques for Spencer. He just kind of like he can go from those satellite high notes to like he'll transition from that high into a scream, but it's all like one thing.
Yeah,
He
that's
doesn't
what I
come
love
out
that he
and
does.
do a scream. He does one vocal cord motion that kind of like comes full circle, and it's fucking weird, and I don't understand it, but I love it.
He's so good. He's really good at transitioning from one thing into another thing, for sure. He's just very dynamic. Yeah, I respect his dynamics.
On the new, actually, I noticed with the new stuff especially, I'm definitely hearing the carnival influence coming in the vocals.
Yeah.
So generally with the voices and stuff on like the epic song, but then there's that one part in Shed Song that I've even been calling the carnival part because it's like just his style
Yeah.
vocal delivery, and it's very good.
Yeah, it's a bit different than something that I would like the falsetto-y bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't do a lot of falsetto-y bits, but I think it really fits there.
Yeah,
I
agree.
also yeah. Also, most likely Rhodey Walker. Our new song, the Connor Ryan song, or I guess it's gonna be called Pull Guard. That one has I feel like that has a protesty feel to it anyway, and it kind of gives me protest vibes if I'm thinking about it, like even the vocal parts. No,
I don't
No?
see that, but okay. That's
I mean,
From Nathan.
I
it
see a
came
little
from a
like
very protest hero part of our lives, I guess, as far as instruments go. But it kind of has. I see it in some parts, but most is very like.
I think it's more so than our other songs, but not very clearly.
Yeah.
yeah,
hard to
it's
describe
more
the way that
upbeat.
that song was written because that song was written 2 or 3 years ago
3 years
when
ago.
Dendron wasn't even like a thought in my mind, and we weren't gonna ever use it, right? So, but I feel like that was around the time we were trying to learn Scarlett and all this stuff. And though I don't see a lot of that influencing that song, there's definitely parts like the fast part in the beginning that is like that's probably where we came up with that bullshit.
Yeah.
Trying to replicate like a protest lick. And
I don't think I don't know if
the
the guitar parts themselves have a lot of protesty bits, but I feel like the flow of the song, how it kind of has a bunch of different, very distinct parts, and some of them are very I don't know, like the whole song is super fast, and some of them are very like melodic, like even the long slow bit. That's not so much protesty, but at least the first little bit of it, it's all fast. Yeah.
Who wants to go
Anyway.
next?
Yeah.
Ryan, Quinn. Someone's
I can go next. Okay, so I thought we'd talk for a little longer, but I have a list, I guess, of influences. So I'll start with a section of guitarists, which is Slash, Dave Mustaine, and Dimebag. Because Slash was my first influence, like, ever. I fucking loved him. Literally, like, bass the entire way. I play guitar and stuff off him. And it was the bluesy licks and the soloing and the improv. And I got a shout out to mine and Connor's old guitar teacher. Fucking Tony O'Brien.
The man.
Dude,
Quinn.
Tony
You
O'Brien.
should have him too. I think
Yeah,
it was the most important part of our musical upbringing was this man, because we got through the basics in a couple of years. You know, we got to where we were going, and then it was at a point where it's like, what am I going to teach you guys? Whatever, let's just jam. And I feel like that was such an important part of like us learning to write music and stuff like that, because you just for a half hour every week you just go and like do improv.
Mhm.
And that was very important. And coming from like the Slash point of view, you know what, learn a lot of blues licks, learn to improv really well, and then you get into the Dave Mustaine side of things, the thrashy, like really fast, just like way more shreddy than Slash ever would have been. So I got into that for a while, got really fast, and then Dimebag was kind of both of them, which was sick. Right, so you listen to Pantera and you kind of figure out how to combine those two worlds, and that was an excellent stepping stone, I think. So that's the first section. After that, it would have been Marty Friedman, again from Megadeth, because he was the first real guitarist I listened to consistently that had like a feeling to his music, specifically his solos, and he was the first musician I listened to that used a whole bunch of theory, right? Because when you're soloing in blues, it doesn't matter as much. You can hit some wrong notes and it's tasty. Dave Mustaine, Megadeth, theory is out the window for Dave Mustaine. He doesn't do it, right? There are notes that he hits and they're fast, and you're supposed to like it. Marty Friedman, though, it was insane. He was like, just every note he hit was like perfect. It was right in the spot you wanted it to be, and I really vibed with that. So I tried, take my blues and shreddy stuff and make it, learn some more scales, get some more melody to it. Stop for a second, right? Which is one thing Slash and Dimebag and Dave Mustaine never really did, was stop, hold a note, hold a bend, think about where you're going next,
Mm-hmm.
That was really,
Yeah, don't noodle forever. You can't noodle forever. You gotta stop
that's
for a
huge.
second.
exactly, don't noodle forever. So that after that, I guess it's kind of where things like specific guitarists stopped influencing me. We talked about this a little bit in the band chat, but like I think Protest I don't think Protest the Hero was really an influence on my writing, but it definitely broke me into a new world of guitar playing. And the stuff I write now is a lot more like Jesse Cash style from Era, right? All the tapping bits, like there's a certain way Protest does it, and that's not really the way I do it.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Do you not think that like even understanding how to do their sound somehow influences the way that you play? Like understanding the way to produce said
Yes,
sound?
but at the same time, I don't know, it's a lot different than what I come up with. They definitely broke me into this world, and I never would have had these ideas without them, right? And as far as listening goes, like they're in my head. Every song is in my head. I'm sure on a deep level there's some influence, but as far as my specific playing goes, I think it's more Era. Because like I said, it's a lot more of a recent thing that all this is coming about.
Mm-hmm.
And Protest has kind of been going on forever. All the tapping and stuff has been. I've been learning Protest for ages, but it never really came out the same way as it did when I started listening to Era.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like pretty much everything you listen to somehow influences you. Like you at least understand what you don't like, even if you don't like it. Like, and then you understand what you do like. And
I feel like there's a lot more ideas that have come from Protest, opposed to them being a formative part of my playing.
interesting.
Whereas Slash, I lived and breathed Slash and Megadeth and Pantera when I was growing up. And Trivium, I should have mentioned Trivium. They were a good bridge as well for the in between the shreddy bluesy stuff and the melodic stuff. They had a really nice balance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool.
I never listened to much Trivium, but I feel like I should.
They were one of my favorite bands growing up for sure. It was because they started thrash, right? It was pure thrash. And then over the course of like 3 albums, they got more and more melodic, more into a metalcore sound until they finally found their own sound, which was kind of unique. And then that was fucking excellent. It was perfect for like 4 albums. And then we won't talk about the next few albums. But now,
What happened?
I think Trivium got bad for a while. After the album, what's it called? Vengeance Falls, I think, was the last good album, if you ask me. And then they started coming out with some more stuff. They pump out albums, man. They've got 4 since then, I think. Aside from this new one that's coming out, I think all of it has just been just bad. I just feel like they've been in a place where they ran out of ideas. Like nothing seems fresh.
Yeah.
All music is very contrived and derivative. But now the singles they've released for this upcoming album seem to be right back where I want them. and it's amazing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
To switch directions for a bit, I think that's my biggest problem, or one of my problems with the new Protest the Hero song. Is like,
Here we go.
yeah, no, like
no.
it's just like I've heard it. Like I respect it. I like it. It's just that like I don't know. The note selection itself is just so Protest.
It sounds like another Pacific Myth song.
It sounds like it definitely comes off Pacific Myth.
See,
Yeah.
I can kind of see it if you go through the whole song, but coming right out the gates at the very beginning, I remember that riff having notes that are just sweet enough that it stands out from their other stuff.
Interesting.
I have to say this. After all I said the day it came out, I still believe a lot of that, but the song has become infectious. Like, I've had it on loop a few times. At this point, I am 100% into the guitars. I don't know. At first, they seemed a little weird and Pacific Mythy. And I still think it is, but I don't know. Especially that first riff, the way they break you into the song is, it gets me, man. It hooks me right in.
I definitely want to hear it play on the album.
Yeah.
Because there's parts of that where if it's a whole album of some of this stuff, then I don't know about that. But if the rest of if it fits into a greater whole, I think, like, of course you can't really judge the album by the single.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Brody's vocals ruined the song. That's like it really, and like some of the drums and some like the low parts, they really just they're not doing what they're supposed to do in my opinion. Like I can't get behind the drums like at all in some of the parts.
They're a lot simpler, but I kind of got over it pretty quickly.
It doesn't fit the feel. Like the drummer's not doing he's not fitting the feel of the chill parts at all.
Sometimes, definitely, yeah. But for me, the big thing is still definitely the vocals, and I've gotten over it a little bit. I'm even singing along at this point, but still, that first line is just.
It makes me howl. It makes me fucking
it makes me laugh. I'm still laughing about it when he starts singing. But even on my first listen, I did think the vocals in the second half, once you kind of get into the trend, right? The repeat, Amelia, please don't go. I don't know. I kind of start to get into it. It's very repetitive. It's very unprotestedly repetitive, but I don't know. It hooks me at the second half.
I definitely like the song. I listened to it again that day, and I like it. But again, it was I'd rather listen to instrumental. I don't want the vocals to be there.
Yeah. And that's the way I enjoy Pacific Myth the best as well. I start Pacific Myth as a full album, let it play through, but then it plays into the instrumental, and I always wind up enjoying the second listen more.
Oh man, okay. So I was looking at the Spotify Protest Spotify account, and the top song there was Blood Meat instrumental.
That's
at 4 million. I was like, is this a mistake? Yeah, I thought it was a mistake because I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I
think the thing is that it's the song everyone knows, right? A lot of people know the name Protest the Hero, and a lot of people have heard a lot of it, but most people only know Blood Meat. Because I think the big thing is Blood Meat was on Much Music and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? When that video came out, everyone saw that.
Did they? I wasn't there.
Oh man. That's how I found out about it. I think a friend saw it on Much Music, and then the old band started covering it. I was listening to it, and all my friends were like, "Oh yeah, I've heard that song. It's on the Much Music rock show."
Connor played Blindfolds Aside in music class, didn't you? Was it Blindfolds Aside you played?
No, it was
Bone
Marrow.
Some song. You played some song in music class, and that was the first time I heard Protest.
Oh, was it actually? No way.
Oh, that's wild.
I remember. I'm like, what are you playing? I was like, what the fuck? Connor's good.
I was like, fuck it. I've spent the last 2 years learning Protest to hear, or no, maybe 1 year at this point. And I needed to bust out something to play in music class. So I was like, fuck it. Here's Bone Marrow.
I did a similar thing for a music test. My teacher told me either I pick a really hard song, or he would grade me very harshly on an easy song. So I did Between the Buried and Me.
Nice.
Oh man, Chuck Carroll was lax.
I think it was
Gave me a 50. He pushed me out of
Bicycle race, the It's Raining song.
Backwards marathon.
Backwards marathon.
Bicycle race by Queen.
Sean Carroll, he fucking. Well, one time in music class for our performance, me, Forrest, and Brandon got up and sung "Turn Soonest to the Sea."
I don't remember.
I assume we must have done fine because I got a really good grade in that course.
I never did the trick. Fuck did
That's
you?
wild.
Yeah. And Amy did the Silent November song. Do you remember that? No, was anybody there? She literally just got up and went da 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 da.
That's
the
hilarious.
flip.
I wasn't
think
in your guys' music class.
That sounds really familiar. I think.
That's whack-a-mole.
Anyways, go on the Quinfluences.
Oh yeah.
Yes, Quinfluences. I'm gonna start with Dream Theater, which is an easy pick if you like prog in your life. But you know, because I think one of their biggest strengths is that they are a really good way to get into prog. A lot of their stuff is it's not that weird. Not a lot of their stuff gets that weird, and all of their albums kind of have.
They'll put the weird
What?
part in one section of an otherwise normal song too.
It's very
Yeah.
expressively weird. It always kind of starts like power metal-y or like a slow kind of feel, and then later they're like, oh, 17 over fucking 62. Here you go.
Yeah.
I feel like they're not very heavy. That's the big thing. Is like especially the vocals they're soaring. They're power metal-y. They really are.
Yeah.
They influenced me how to not play time signatures.
Which the vocals are another thing. The vocals are another thing that I would say that makes them pretty accessible to people who don't listen to metal or prog.
For sure.
No screaming.
What else did I have about it? Okay. The idea of like telling a story through music that isn't like a Broadway musical was pretty much introduced to me through Dream Theater, and like the ways that you can do that, like Scenes from a Memory, the way that that album is structured, and the way that it uses like not musical sounds in the songs to be part of the story, like characters talking or like sound effects. That whole idea, which like now it seems like pretty. It's not that far removed from anything that I would do now. Like putting a noise into a song seems pretty commonplace now, but I think that's probably one of the first places I heard it.
I mean, they have like movie samples and stuff, and it tripped me out when I was listening to it for the first time. Like 6 o'clock on a Christmas morning, I was like, "Who the fuck are you? Like, what are you talking about Christmas?"
Yeah, right. Even like that kind of like dialogue, like spoken word samples, is kind of it's weirdly commonplace for them to use, which, you know, take it or leave it. I like it.
Seems like
The
DJ
only
Khaled.
other thing, the only other thing I'll say about them is their album Octavarium was very, very hit with me when I first heard it, and when I heard about the whole concept of it, because to me, a concept record at that time meant that there was like a story going all the way through it. But Octavarium is very much not a story, but just kind of a theme and a way that it's structured and how they wrote the music, which kind of opened up just get the idea of getting really wacky about how you write music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like making your process like really stupid to see what comes out, kind of.
Yeah, that's kind of relatable to the album because like it's not necessarily a story what I made. It was more like a bunch of thought processes that having a bad habit, like kind of going like it's sort of a story going through the motions, but less of a actual events happening. Just you working through it yourself.
More of a general theme.
It's just kind of a very real way of life.
Yeah.
it was
Very
nice.
low.
Bad habits.
It was nice to
That's my comment.
break out of like you're saying, like break out of like this regimented. You either have a bunch of random songs thrown together, or you have a narrative for all your songs. When you can just think about your album as one piece, one,
Yeah.
sort of one whole, and you can make it interconnected however you want. You can structure it. You can try to put through
Yeah.
lines in it, and
Which
make it
I
be
feel like-
abstract.
Which I feel like I got that idea and that kind of influence. I feel like I got that pretty like very much from Dream Theater, but I feel like maybe you guys might have got it more from Tool.
It's come up a
Tool
lot. Like even
doesn't
Protest the
have-
Hero did it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I never listened to Tool. I don't like Tool very much, so but I did. I don't know. I did listen to controversy. I don't know. Boring. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
What are you gonna do?
I did listen to
Facebook
Dream
down
Theater
below.
though, and a lot of protests, and I feel like that helped a lot.
Yeah.
I've made Nathan
Yeah.
upset, anger. I don't know. He's making faces at me. What's up, dude?
Yeah, fucking. Oh, Tool doesn't have like Tool doesn't seem to have a lot of like themes connecting their albums. The songs do seem like they're all distinct. They might have some
Okay.
like nonsense that connects them. Like
Yeah. Tool. It's like it's
I don't even know how to describe it. Yeah.
there's like a
Maynard
feel
ranting
through
every
each
song.
album.
What is it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
There's
don't think-
definitely
I think it's Maynard just
things that pop up.
Maynard's just ranting every song. That's what it is. He's just telling you
think-
what he feels.
Tool was if I had to find an influence that Tool has on Dendron's music, it's how like with Dream Theater, it was like you were learning how prog works and how to be technical by making it like a lot of flash and guitar solos and like holy shit, look at how this part doesn't line up. But Tool would sort of take it and they would use it as a tool for themselves, sort of to deliver a song. Like it was still song oriented, and there's not really solos, there's not really shredding, though the drums get pretty intense. But it's more right. It's like people will still pay attention if you are writing a compelling song and you aren't shredding. Is sort of what I picked up from Tool,
Yeah.
if anything.
Yeah, I feel like if I had been introduced to Tool at a different point in my life, and I've never hearing them before, it would have been a lot different. But the first time I ever tried was, when I was strictly kind of like a shreddy boy. I didn't give a fuck about time signatures or none of this.
You don't like
I
spacey
don't know.
stuff anyway.
What?
As far as I don't feel like you like a lot of spacey stuff. I've never heard you
Oh,
put
I love
on
it.
something.
I love it.
okay.
I love to like just smoke a joint and go ham. Right? Sit
feel
down, listen to fucking nothing. I love, and lately, like electronic music, as long as it's not super upbeat, has been really cool to just kind of like.
Ooh.
See,
Right?
What got
Yeah. That said, I listened to all of Fear Inoculum during a tattoo once. So when that came out, and even now with my appreciation of the time signatures and all this stuff, I still didn't like
To be
it.
fair, I do like Fear Inoculum, but that's not an album that inspires strong reactions out of anyone.
Yeah, I've heard things.
You just gotta listen to the right. You gotta listen to the right Tool songs, man. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You gotta listen to
Like,
Waiting too.
I've listened to
The Grudge.
everything except for the first album, I think, and I don't know. There's a few that I really like, but not much.
See, I was actually gonna mention Maynard as an influence because I feel like when the song gets really chill and kind of like I don't know, hypnotic, rhythmic, fucking atmospheric in a way, I do tend to break out my inner Maynard in my vocals, at least in my tone. I think that happens at the beginning of the build-up song a little bit, but only a little bit.
Yeah, I hear it in Build Up Song. I remember that.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I was gonna say Tool also inspires me, like Danny Carey especially, just because his drum parts are they're just their own thing. They're their own separate entity from their song, like a lot of the times, especially like what's the fucking song? Rosetta Stone. Like that whole song, the drums are just going crazy. The drums are just, they're just kind of, there's like polyrhythms everywhere, basically. And he doesn't, you can't really, when you write like Danny Carey, you can't really follow the music per se. You kind of have to like keep it in mind, but you do your own thing. It's weird.
Yeah, you said this to me the other day. It was like Danny Carey taught you that the drums could be their own thing.
Yeah, it's their own rhythm, making this. It's always tied to the song, but it's still, it's crazy. I don't know. I don't know. He's mad man.
I guess what you mean there. It's like it's like a step further from what like Neil Peart did with Rush, where sort of before, like if you go way back, all the rock music, all the drummers are just keeping time. You know, like really.
Yeah.
But yeah, by like the capital drum part.
He definitely goes wild. Like what was it? The guitarist, Adam Jones? Alex Jones. Alex Jones, the guitarist from Tool, said that that he was the only man he could keep a polyrhythm with 3 hands going, like 3 separate polyrhythms. Like not three limbs, not 3 hands.
Don't like it. Don't like the thought of it. Don't want it in my brain. That sounds hard.
We already have enough polyrhythms.
That sounds like Dendron album 3.
Yeah, it's just a polyrhythm. It's all or nothing. Everything's nothing but polyrhythm.
I would accept a polyrhythm in every song we write forever if we never have a triple polyrhythm. That sounds really...
Okay, deal.
The triple.
No,
rhythm.
wait.
Maybe 4 polyrhythms.
No deal.
You play one, Quinn plays one.
Yeah, everyone does a different one. Easy.
I don't know whose turn it is to talk.
I had something I wanted to talk about actually when it came back to me.
Okay.
I'm not sure who Grump the Stump is in chat. I'm guessing Marcus or Colin. I don't know if you guys
Colin's
know.
Casey. Yeah.
What's that?
Is Marcus
Oh,
Grump?
yes. You're right. It could be. Anyways, shout out to Grump the Stump. Way up in the chat, they said, no Yvette. Shout outs to Yvette Young.
That's pretty.
But so now that got me thinking, like, let's talk about influences for the Shed song. Because, so Shed Song is going to be the first song on the upcoming album. It won't be called Shed Song. That's our name. We started writing that one in, like, 2017, I think. I distinctly remember Nathan's Living Kilbride at the time. That's where we jammed. And I remember that was sort of the first time we started building momentum to write this album. And I feel like around that time, we were getting a lot of new influences from like math rock and punk and other, like, basically I felt at least like I was branching into not heavy styles. And Grump the Stump mentions Yvette Young. I think that's a good example of there was sort of I was finding at least, I don't know if they were truly only existed at this point. Maybe they always existed and I was just finding them at this point. But there was this wave of guitarists who would take the stuff I like from prog metal, but then they were playing guitar on not heavy music and sort of on other kinds of music. I guess like that thing I was saying with Ocean Size. But I was discovering a lot of that and sort of finding ways to do different kinds of music, but keep all the dumb shit I like playing in it. And a lot of that went into Shed Song.
Or complexity.
When we started writing Shed Song, it was Chan that was in my head the whole time.
Even though it doesn't sound Sean at all, but yeah.
I can't really remember what influenced me most was like just the Shed. That was the most summer, like that was the most like drums I played like ever. Like I played drums almost every single day. So just I don't know. I was very in it at the moment. I guess the best way. I was very musical that summer, so it was just it felt right. It flowed really nice.
I think it was a very good space for it too. I don't like jamming in the Shed was just very good.
Yeah, we laid out a lot of good parts there.
Yeah,
but like
we came up with
the song got an overhaul.
Yeah. We came up with most of it like there in a couple sessions, I think.
I don't think we only added Ryan's part. That's all I can remember.
We did the
all
intro.
we added was a bit of flavor, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, the intro
We changed
too.
the intro. Yeah, the intro is all different.
Some
There was a
little-
different flow to the song as well.
Yeah.
Just little
Like,
things. and the tapping part. Ooh, and I loved that we found a place for the action riff.
That was
Oh,
the
yeah.
best
Yeah.
part.
That was the last thing I expected when we finished that song. Was hey, let's do this now.
Said
It was always a
We
question
made
of, okay, this is an intro. Where does it go? False. It's an outro. It goes nowhere. Problem solved.
It
exactly.
goes to the end, Ryan. It goes straight to the end.
That's it. Our
That's the answer.
You could describe our music as a bunch of exhaustive efforts to
Five.
find a place for riffs we end a song with. It's we
Yeah.
spend a bunch of time. We have 5 endings to songs, and then we try to make sense of them.
Yeah.
Oh, when you put it that way, it's very true. It's
We definitely write songs around. It's like we had this great riff. Okay, how do we make this riff a song? How do we take this?
Right? I don't know where it came from, but it's a big thing where we start writing the song, and then we're like, oh, this riff's the best one yet. We got to play that one at the end. Let's write the rest of the song.
We also have we have a very relaxed writing style, but at the same time we mull things over to like
Yeah,
think
I
about
agree.
we constantly think about it, the music, but it's at the same time it's very relaxed. Like we have a very chillax writing style. It's just I don't know. I said chillax. I hate it. I hate it every word.
relax.
I fucking hate it.
I think it's the fact that it can really go anywhere. You know, we can write a whole song, but who's to say that's gonna be the way it is? It's so easy to change anything with this style, like anywhere.
Yeah.
We have
I don't mind fucking piping up and saying my part. Like, I don't like this. I want to fucking change it.
that's why I
You
love
definitely
prog.
do that.
I love prog in general because you just have the freedom to do. You just do whatever the fuck you want. It's as long as it fits the song, or it doesn't even have to fit the song. Like as long as it's good.
It does bring up the argument of what flows and what doesn't a lot, though. Because a lot of the time, you know, the band chat is empty for a couple days, and all of a sudden, someone pipes up, I don't know if this works. I don't like the vibe. I don't know if it flows. And it's like, it's prog. It doesn't have to flow. Everything flows. But at the same time, sure. So you try to, but that's the beauty of it, I think, is that we're able to try so much, and whether it flows or not can kind of flip-flop and be decided later. And we've done this. We can change things to make a part that doesn't flow in everyone's mind.
The beginning of the epic is like the crowning jewel of taking a bunch of stuff and we flattened it out.
The way it actually sounds like a song now is kind of incredible.
Yeah, we always just take 2 riffs that don't flow and then make a part that make them flow. That's all basically all we do.
Yeah.
It's like we have 2 riffs. How do we get them connected? Okay, there we go.
I feel like Dad is a very and I'll say this, it's annoying, but it's the best form of quality control that we have, because I think a lot of the time me and Connor will put together some stuff and be like, okay, sick, that's good, and we'll finalize it because we spent so much time on it and we're kind of done with it, and we're not gonna question it anymore. We're not gonna, we're not gonna question the work we've done because it's like we did it, we're done. And then Dad is like, I don't like it. I don't like this specific. Do something about it, and it kind of forces us to change it, and it always works out for the better. But it's annoying.
Oh, I've actually got to do one of those. I'm supposed to be doing one of those right now. Whoops.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is true. I just
It's not necessarily evil, but I don't think the songs would be where they are without it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I fully support it.
I want a lot of vocal direction in this music as well. So it's kind of at the end of the day, who better to be quality control? Because I like having all the guitar parts and stuff, but even in a lot of like Periphery and Protest and all these twiddly diddly bands, it comes down to the vocals that keep me around.
I also would say that it's a good thing, because what you just said is a downfall for you and Ryan. You take a thing, you make it, and you want to be done with it, and you don't necessarily want to change it. So Dad's input is always, because it forces you to do things.
Like if it was just me writing the song, I'd release it, and the dad would listen to it and say, "Well, that's shit. Fuck this guy."
That's
But
not
it's
true. You
okay.
presented me with Connor Ryan's song, and I was like, I love it.
Yes, we all
true.
were unanimous.
That's true.
That's good.
There's nothing not perfect about this.
For that one specifically, just because that song is such a bother to me, I feel like if you had a problem with it, I would have just been like, let's just write a new song. Fuck it.
Oh no, but it makes me so happy. Oh.
I don't know. It's just that first part. It gets under my skin, and I don't know why we wrote it.
What? Are you're talking about the?
Yeah, not like the intro riff, not that cool 7 thing. That was sick. I love that riff. I remember writing that riff, and I wasn't even in this kind of mindset where I wanted to write something in an odd time signature. I just sat down and I just started like, I think it started in 4/4, and I just fucked around until it got to where it was. Didn't even know that I had changed the time signature. I spent a whole night just playing that riff over and over again. And then went over to Connor's one day, and we wrote all of that in like a couple, 3 or 4 hours tops maybe, and then just like banged it out and never did anything with it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Fucking written, recorded, bass, programmed drums. Never touched it again.
See, here's the thing: is when I listen to something, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna throw out everything I don't like, and whatever seems to get any sort of reception from other people is what I'm gonna follow. So I'll like say something, and if nobody's like, I don't give a fuck about that. That was why I don't care. Then I'm like, I'll drop it. That's fine.
I do the exact same thing. It's like I don't. Maybe, and if no one else says anything, I'm like, okay, whatever, who cares?
Unless it really irks me. And then I'm like, guys, come on.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely fought for a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like this Shed song solo. I'm interested to see, and we never did talk about having that video jam, but we got to. I'm interested to see what you come up with, but for me personally, it's like I've tried to change it for you, and I just can't get anything that I like better than what I already have, you know? So I'm very interested to see what you can come up with. Even if what you come up with gets one of us to come up with something else that winds up being the thing, you know?
See, that's all I really care about. See, I have a vibe in my head, and I just want to try to get it out there in some manner that I think is going to fit that just individual small sliver. It's only like one repetition of the riff. But anyway.
I think it's literally 2 bars that we're disputing over.
Yeah.
There's nothing to it because the intro is fine, and then the outro of that solo is fine. It's just the middle. It's the meat.
Yeah, it's not even the whole middle. It's just.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, what's another insult? Oh, go ahead.
I want to say I have like one last influence because I think it's like be the drummer from Winter Sleep. His name was apparently Lowell Campbell. I don't know. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but they're a band from Nova Scotia, and they are prog, which is great. But he's influencing me now more because he's showing that like less is more. Like playing a drum part that fits the song is way more important than making it flashy. And he's like not necessarily flashy, but he's just so good. He makes me, I don't know, I love his drum parts and his like, style of playing so much. That's it.
At the end of assembly lines.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a hard drum beat, but it just fits so good. And even all of assembly line it's just like a simple snare drum roll, but it's just a great snare drum roll, and it fits the song so perfectly. I can't imagine anything else like being played.
Mm-hmm.
I love Winter Sleep. Winter Sleep are weird because I would put them in the prog category. I don't think that would, but I really haven't heard anything like them. Really, it's like a lot of, like at least their first 2 albums, like it's like acoustic, repetitious,
drony, weird folk, not folk.
I don't know, maybe a little bit.
His vocal style too. It's acoustic, yeah. It's a lot of it's acoustic, but his vocal style too is so hard to replicate. You can't sing like this man, and he also does a lot of weird, like humming parts, not even words.
Hmm.
Oh, here's a good one I just thought of. Children of Bodom. Not specifically Alexi Leho, but Alexi and whoever the fuck played piano in that band. I feel were huge because I think a lot of the like darker stuff that I'll write, like harmonic minor, kind of like pedaling stuff, will come like that riff, the kind of like weird circusy riff in Epic. I feel like that's kind of where that comes from in a sense.
Interesting.
It's something weird that they never would have done, but I think that's where I got introduced to that more evil kind of sound. Even though a lot of other bands had it, it's never something I used, right? And the neoclassical bits and all this stuff, and the back and forth, I loved it. I loved it when they would have like solo battles between Alexi and the synth player, right? Because there's such a way about it, like in Bone Marrow when Tim comes in with the crazy piano solo. I think that's Bone Marrow, or is that Palms Red?
Which one are you talking about? Do you know what the Shreddy keys solo?
Yeah.
That's the guy
That's
from
the
Dragon
dude
Force.
from Dragon Force.
No, it's the guy from Dragon Force.
That's totally true.
Either way,
Doesn't. Yeah.
that kind of thing was like I feel like very influential on me the way I used to write solos, which I don't really do anymore.
Isn't that Limb from Limb?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Pretty
from
style, but I feel like it helped the way I write a lot. But yeah, that style. And oddly enough, I'm not a big singer, or I'm not good at screaming. But Alexi was the first one that made me like start screaming. Right, that's where I wanted to learn it, was to do Children of Bodom stuff.
That's good
And
because he
then
sets the bar low.
Trivium, they set the bar pretty low with but then it kind of circled me back to Trivium to try more of Matt Heafy style with this like when he's singing it's a low kind of not super melodic style, and when he's screaming it's more like a rough yell.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I love rough yells.
Not in the way
It adds so much emotion.
break out of a scream into a yell, but somewhere in between, right? And it's I loved it so much.
I wanted to ask Connor, who influenced you when you were younger, like starting out? Because Ryan said like Slash and Dave Mustaine, but what about you?
Jeez, I don't
Like
know.
when you first started learning guitar?
To actually play guitar, I remember the very early when we were going to our guitar teacher and I was picking up, the thing that was the first band that was sort of driving me to play guitar was probably AC/DC for a little bit.
Yeah, I know you love AC/DC.
Angus Young's approach to like power chord, but making power chords sound even bigger than power chords, sort of thing, and riffs that way.
Mm-hmm.
There was a bit of that. Then I think pretty quick after that, it went to Metallica. I remember spending like a lot of my early guitar time going to ultimateguitar.com. I would find those shitty text tabs. I'd print them out. I found a folder full of paper like this thick of guitar tabs printed off the internet.
Oh man, I got a full shoebox in my closet.
Of just riffs, just Metallica riffs, and I'd try some solo stuff. My first YouTube video was me playing Nothing Else Matters on guitar.
Yeah.
Then
K-Rock
from there, it
likes
was
that
definitely Dream Theater to get into the prog stuff. At the time, I didn't even know what I was getting into. I just thought, oh, I heard that they can play guitar really fast like Metallica. Then I started listening to Images and Words, and there's saxophone on the record, and there's a ballad, and I was like, but it was still metal, and I was like...
Isn't there Take the Time on the album?
Yeah, Take the Time.
Yeah.
Yeah, just speaking of influences, realistically, Connor, you're probably the one who got me into prog, because that was the first time I started listening to Protest the Hero, and like actually being like, okay, let's give this a real chance here, a real fight, and then I was like, oh, this is spicy as fuck.
Yeah, I try to show people what I'm listening to a lot.
And then you got me into prog, Dad, by driving your car. Or Peter.
Yeah. Well, it took a while because like you also said like Tesseract and Periphery, and at the time maybe Periphery 1 was the only one that was out. I can't even remember. This was like 2011, 2012, something like that. Yeah. So like that was like a first taste, and then slowly I got into a little bit of Dream Theater, and then I got into Tool, and then I got into Tesseract and fucking Periphery, and I don't know who else, Carnival. Veil of Maya. I don't know. Are they prog? Are Veil of Maya prog?
I'm back and forth. I think more importantly, it's just like they write metalcore that's good. Like I don't like just high quality songwriting.
High quality metalcore. Yeah.
I think it's easy to people find it easy to accidentally call bands prog just because they write good songs. Like people say about Gojira too.
Or even just like hectic. They're a lot like hectic in a lot of parts.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Lately, I've just been calling a lot of things prog because I don't know what to call things anymore. You
Yeah.
got metalcore and fucking deathcore and death
Yeah,
metal.
like-
and what's the difference between those? And
Like
black-
in my head, I've been calling Dillinger prog, and I've been thinking like, wait, is it? I don't know. Like, or is it just like really, really angry and nonsensical? Like, is it? And like mathcore, I don't know what distinguishes mathcore from prog.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Because
Mathcore
it's-
is a
it's-
subgenre of prog.
It's
Yeah.
all just numbers. It's all just number music for nerds. Like,
That's the thing. There's a lot of subgenres. That's the thing. Like I use prog as more of a generic. They have weird
Yeah.
structures and use time signatures. That's like if they do both of those things, I'm gonna call you prog. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna-
prog is
Yeah.
just-
I also hate nitpicky. I don't like genres. I hate being like nitpicky with a genre. I just don't care.
yeah.
I generalize.
Oh, I do.
indie
I like
core.
Yeah, I like genres. Categorize things.
To circle back to, it's a great system, but it's oversaturated with genre names. And I don't know where to put
I think
stuff. And
that's
some stuff fits
I think that's a
into the
metal
same-
problem.
Other genres have it, but metal
Other
does have it
genres-
pretty bad too.
Do they?
I feel
Yeah,
like
John just
jazz
sent into
is
the
definitely bad.
John just sent into the chat. There are like a million subgenres of vaporwave and internet music.
I
No, I-
can see it.
Alright,
Okay,
you
I'm
always
fucking
call it
putting my
like-
toes where they don't belong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
There is a lot of like nonsense genres. Like they're just throwing words that don't really need to be there.
Although, you know what, you're thinking about it, like, punk even has a shit ton of different, like, skater punk,
Punk
pop
rock.
punk,
Yes.
like, punk rock, hardcore punk.
Hardcore punk.
Yeah. So what's the difference between
Emo,
skater punk
screamo.
and hardcore punk?
Post punk is really good.
But I feel like hardcore punk is what a skater would listen to.
Hardcore punk is
Skater
DIY.
punk, hardcore punk, that's the same thing. But at the same time, I feel like hardcore punk is just metal. Like
Yeah,
I don't-
you're
I don't
getting
know what to do
close.
half the time.
You're getting close. It's more
It's
simplistic.
screaming,
More upbeat.
except in major scales.
It's also more like and that's like the punk. What I know. Yeah. Does anyone else have anything else to say?
Um,
I want AC/DC again. Because to me, it's not the way that Angus Young made power chords huge. It's how he used normal-ass chords. Angus Young started screeching guitar using a straight-up G chord.
That's
like
true.
first position, acoustic G chord. And it just
Back in
sounded
black.
it just sounded so good to me. It sounded like it was the high notes. It was the whole spectrum on that distorted sound. And I think going from AC/DC into stuff like Dream Theater, where they started using more jazzy chords, like big, real fucking chords, not just your classic fifth chord,
mhm.
into Protest, and now like the Contortionist, Periphery, and some of the stuff we write even has a lot of bigger chords under this distortion stuff. And it's so cool. Monument, 7-string fucking jazz chords and shit. Like so many notes going on under this wall
Way
of
too many notes. So
Too
many
many-
notes.
and it's like you can't even distinguish. Like I've played. Are the Creator is an excellent example. It has a run with like a progression of 8 chords. They're all full 7-string chords, and if you play it wrong, you almost don't know because there's so much going on in one sound wave. You know. So I
That's
found it.
good.
It just sounds so fucking cool. You know, I really think it's the high end that does it for me. Like. Monuments does it really well, where he kind of like the way he plays rhythmically will kind of like it takes away a lot of the beef and gives it this new like attacky kind of feeling, right? And it just I don't know, it gets me going more than like the low brutal stuff. Like lately, I haven't been into the straight screaming and the fucking down-tuned 8-string guitars and all this shit. You know, I want that high end.
Hmm.
I'm all about that high end.
I like high.
Full chords.
Full chords.
Yeah.
I think that's a stream at this point.
Yeah, how long have we been going for? What? Who the fuck
We're at an
are we?
hour and 1 minute.
Yo,
That's a thing.
I don't know how
could-
long.
that's a great amount of time.
That's pretty
Like-
clean.
I got nothing else. So I've covered everyone I wanted to cover.
That's pretty clean. I could talk about Muse if you want.
Yeah.
Yo.
Oh yeah, and I got one more thing too. I'll talk
We
about after.
could.
Muse did a lot of things for me. I have a couple notes. I should look at them.
What
Right.
kind of things, Quinn?
They're like the
Tell
first.
us what kind of thing.
They're like, cause like when you're like a little baby listening to kiddie shit music, you're really like there are two genres of music. There's classic rock and there's radio. Those are the two genres of music when you're like
That's
a
true.
little baby bitch kid. But then the first CD-ROM music I ever bought was Absolution by Muse because I liked Hysteria from Rock Band. And then that just took me down this hole where so many things happened in that album that I didn't think you could do in music because they were like a rock band. But like the first full track on that album is a big, full like grandiose Muse type rock song, but there's no guitars in it. And I was like, how can you write a rock song with no guitars? It's all just these big crashing pianos. And I was like, damn, you can use different instruments to do different shit. Music is crazy. And then there's like the song from that album, Butterflies and Hurricanes, has like a really big wackadoodle kind of piano shred solo in it, which like piano shred I've never heard in like a rock song at that point. And I was like, what's happening to notes? What's going on? Like that album was an absolute hole. It pretty much ripped Quinn's baby shit brain out of his head. And then from like the rest of Muse's discography, some of the main things is like making music huge without making it really heavy. The way that like back in the old times when I listened to a lot of Metallica, because I lived in a house with Connor and also liked Metallica. But like that was a way to make music sound huge, but it was also really heavy. But Muse made music sound huge, but it was still like all very singy and very like still alternative rock or whatever you want to call it. Muse is also, some people call Muse prog. I would feel weird about calling Muse prog.
Maybe prog rock, maybe. I see where it's coming
Prog
from.
rock, maybe.
They draw from it a little bit, like some songs, like Animals.
Yeah, they do
prog.
draw for. Yeah, like Animals is prog.
If it's not
Citizen
prog.
Erased is prog, but like as a band, I wouldn't really call them prog.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line?
Hard to say.
I just feel like they're
Uh,
very, and it really shows.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say about them is like the idea of album diversity is huge. Especially, I remember in 2012 when the second Law came out, I was really excited but also afraid because they released the track Unsustainable, which has like dubstep guitars, and I was like, what is a dubstep guitar? What are you doing? Get out of here. But then
I remember
that album came out, and none of the songs even sound remotely similar.
Yeah,
Like,
it's huge.
That's a big thing for me.
none of the songs sound like they belong together, but for some reason it all works because they have some ideas that are similar. Like Matt Bellamy's voice is pretty much the only thing that holds Muse's sound together. That, and I think like some of the bass playing is like they do a lot of cool bass runs like Hysteria and on like Futurism and stuff. They're really good at doing kind of fuzz bass runs. So that's Muse. Muse definitely was the first band to break my brain. Yeah.
I wonder, do you think Muse is more of an influence for your writing or like your production? Because I feel like Muse was the introduction, at least for me, Muse was the introduction to a lot of the same stuff like having all these pianos instead of guitar to make the song heavy, but also having a lot of layers and a lot of
Yeah.
going on that isn't necessarily performable.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Especially with their later stuff. Like the Second Law was definitely huge for that because like they're a rock band, but they have so many like synths and like electronic noises going on now.
Yeah.
They're also like huge for making their live shows like a really wackadoodle production. You know?
Throwing the word in everywhere.
Yeah.
Nice.
But
You got a
yeah.
thing, Connor? I got a thing after your thing, Connor.
Okay. So this is just something that's been kind of on my mind since we started. Sort of, well, not even since we started writing this album, but since the end was in sight for this album, when we sort of got our plan together. And it was that when it comes to influences, at least in terms of our influences that are like modern metal bands, like sort of the ones that are sort of close to what we're trying to do, I was finding increasingly that there's this tension, there's this like push and pull of two different sort of vibes, for me at least. And it's been sort of, I'm trying to figure out where I stand with it in terms of what I like listening to, where I want Dendron stuff to go, and all that. And it's this like the thing that I don't know if it started with Periphery, but the thing I think of associate a lot with Periphery and all the bands that came from Periphery is this like slick sound where everything's polished and like very shiny, everything sounds perfect. And then there's the other one that's like, in my brain at least, I first think of like Mastodon and Baroness, where it's very much like people throwing down, like people actually play music, like the sort of a simple sort of analogy for it is like the digital amp and Axe Effects production versus actually playing through a tube amp production, like analog and digital. It's not actually like it's not perfectly associated with analog and digital, but it's sort of the analog digital spirit to writing and performing, I guess.
Yeah.
No, I totally understand what you're saying. Like the Periphery is so squeaky clean. Like it's all the production is just very on point. And then there's like that's great, but there's also a lot of music that I like that's just grimy and nasty and fucking terribly produced. I listen to fucking folk punk, folk, fucking whatever it is, like, and I like the griminess. I like it because it kind of gives like this human emotion to everything that
it translates better. I feel like it translates better live as well, I think.
Oh, definitely,
like
especially in fucking grimy little bars.
The other bands, I think, a lot of the time struggle because their recordings have so many added layers and production techniques that when they try to do it live, they're either using backing tracks, which kind of sucks, or like stuff subbed in, and it sort of feels like you're not getting the full. Where these other bands, if you can sort of authentically recreate the sound yourselves, it's sort of nicer.
That's
I remember. I feel like we've kind of seen, like, some of the bands we follow, we've seen them kind of go from, I guess, not having, maybe not just not having, like, the resources to have that, like, really shiny, clean production. So that some of the earlier releases, like I feel like Fortress by Protest the Hero has a very unique production style to me. The guitars in that don't really sound like guitars in any other recording, you know? And then, like, Tesseract 1... I feel like has a really unique production to it. Like the guitars in that too and everything. Like they're not at the sheen level that they are now, and it kind of makes it better because when I go back and listen to it, it's like really easy to identify it.
Yeah, in one, I listened to one the other night actually. It is a lot less polished. Like it's very, there are layers and there are samples, but it's so minimal. Opposed to the way my phone works, it brought me straight into not the newest album, but not the one with Smile or whatever it is, but the one before that.
Polaris.
Polaris, yes. And you can feel it right away. Like the second Dystopia kicks in, you can feel it, and it's extremely jarring.
Polaris has a distinct tone too, but it's like different from that one. It's much more polished. I think they use like an octave effect or something in that album because there's this really high pitch quality to the guitar parts on that album.
It could be.
Yeah, that definitely has a distinct sound.
Yeah, that's kind of where I want to stay. Is somewhere, within that. Like I want the song to sound good. I want the production to sound really good. But at the same time, I don't want it to sound a whole lot different than the way it would live. I don't like getting too into sampling and all this kind of stuff because Periphery is great to listen to as an album, but they don't throw down as much as they could be on stage because they're all listening to a track. It all has to be so perfect. There's no room for mistakes, right? I feel like on a whole other level, it takes the fun out of it. Even I feel like it takes something away from the performance in a sense, and I would rather be in a Mastodon kind of thing where you can fuck something up and you can throw down and you can fucking just have this greasy feel, Like a lot of our riffs are really that way. They're very rocky riffs opposed to these
Greasy.
Periphery riffs that are just like so calculated.